We are officially late. Okay, so here we go. We are Oz Daled. We are at Oz Daled. Let's do it. Okay, so what he's going to address over here is a question that, and first of all, let's also be clear. Some of these things are certainly biblically sourced as well, meaning the notion of an afterworld, while that is a big debate, certainly the Gemara states that overly explicitly, and as anyone who studies Tanakh, granted it's not talked about excessively, but there's certain prophets, for example Daniel, who speaks about Olam Habah in a very explicit way.
But the Torah barely mentions, but
still mentions. Right. Okay. But it mentions, doesn't elaborate, doesn't talk about it excessively, and there's extensive discussion from the Rishonim as to why, but Olam Habah is certainly something which is mentioned, and certainly something that is part of our principles of faith, and a key element of what it means to be a Jew, to believe in it. So, with that in mind, what he's going to address over here, it's not what he's really addressing, but I'll just mention something which sometimes troubles people, and that is that it's very hard to relate, to an Olam Habah type of reality. Again, we haven't even elaborated on what Olam Habah is, but it's certainly a time and place where we no longer are struggling, we're no longer being challenged, and the question is what is that, right? Imagine, I don't know about you, but how many days can you sit on a beach, drinking, tequila or whatever? Don't answer that question. But the point is that most healthy people want to continue to generate, and again, eventually at some point, I'd like to get back to it. Now, obviously, Olam Habah is not sitting on a beach and drinking tequila, but the point is it's a different reality of this notion of enjoyment as opposed to struggle, as opposed to working, and that seems a little bit hard to relate to. So it's not his goal of this next paragraph, but it will be addressed. Let's see what he says. V'ulam, kafi ischal zmano. According to the change in the different time periods, as we mentioned, there was the time of the struggle and the time of reward, right? Zman ha'avoda and zman kibul ha'sachar. Kach rosh ischal matzavo ushar mikrav. Similarly, in as much as there is a difference in those time periods, so too the person's situation or environments and surroundings are going to be different. Okay, ki kol zman hishtadlus, as long as we're living during the period of effort, a person has to have certain characteristics. All the matters, all the things which are needed have to be found to accomplish what has to be accomplished during that time. Perish, meaning, it's critical that during this period of time, this time period which is described as the Zman HaAvoda, the time of work, the time of service, that we have to have the capacity and the necessary requirements for there to be struggle, between intellect and material. And there can't be anything which completely prevents the physicality, the material to overcome, and to do what it has to do, according to the matter, according to the appropriate level. And there can't be anything blocking the intellect from overcoming and doing its thing, according to what is appropriate for it. There also has to be limitations to ensure that the physicality does not completely overcome. And similarly, there has to be impediments to ensure that the seichel, that the intellect, is not become too powerful. On the one hand, you could say, hey, to have your seichel completely overcome the chomer, you have your intellect completely overcome the material, seems like a great thing. But according to what God created us in this world to do, which is to acquire perfection, to acquire completion with efforts, a nanotov. It wouldn't be good. In other words, if it would be bad for there to be a system where we could do so many mitzvos that eventually there's no struggle anymore. Then we'd lose the whole purpose of this world. To say, God, I want to be in a reality where I never have to struggle with any yetzer hara. I never want to struggle with any bad. That would be bad. As much as on the one hand, one could argue, hey, it's good because I don't have to deal with any of that, but that's bad because you're losing sight of what we're supposed to be doing over here. Whereas in the time of reward, everything has to be the opposite. Because in the time of reward, if the material is going to be strong at that point, the physicality would prevent the soul from connecting to God, which is the goal of the next world. Therefore, in the next world, the only thing that should really be in charge is the soul. And the physicality should just follow the spiritual in a way that it doesn't prevent it. Recognize, he's saying in the next world there is physical. There is still a body in Olam Habah. Okay, he hasn't yet used that term, he's about to. But the point is that he's not saying there is no physicality in the next world. He's saying that in the next world, in order for us to be able to get what we're supposed to get there, which is connection to God, the soul has to be the dominant force, and the physicality can't be blocking it. But again, he's saying there it still is physical. But the point is that there's a different characteristic. Our makeup right now in this world is one where the balance is such that there's going to be endless struggle. Endless struggle. Every day of our lives there are different struggles. And hopefully it's not the same struggle. Hopefully we move and move and move. But there's always going to be something we're struggling with. Like the notion of will I ever come to a point where I don't have to struggle again? No. As we get more refined, we're going to struggle with different things. And that's okay. That's not okay. It's great. It's good. We should be struggling with different things. And hopefully again, as we refine, maybe Shmir Shabbos, you've been keeping Shabbos for X amount of years. The fact that I don't turn on a light is not a struggle. Great. But there are going to be different elements, right? At every mitzvah, there's constant growth and there's constant challenge. In the next world, that challenge would be a detriment, and therefore the soul is dominant. But the point is that there is different characteristics.
I'm sorry, you just said that the next world is...
The soul is strong, and therefore it's a world of reward, and therefore the soul is dominant.
Okay, the soul is dominant.
Therefore, God created two worlds: Olam Hazeh, Olam Habah. This world and the world to come, the world that is not yet created. Olam Hazeh, Hamakom Achuk B'Ativim Shelo. This world has its place, its rules, its nature. Hema Sheroyal Adam Kolazman Hishtadlus, which are fit for person during the time of effort. Olam Habah, the next world, Hamakom Achukim Shelo, has its place, its laws. Hema Sheroyal Bizman Kibul Sachar, which are all fit for receiving reward. Again, it's a different reality. It is not the same as this reality. Okay.